Hello viewers, another beautiful day. Hope your five senses work, health and strength is good or excellent. Alright, what do we got here? It says here, ROG Ally X with Steamos 3.8 outperforms Steam Deck by up to 20% at the same TDP. More performance can be unlocked using a plugin. Look man, the Steam Deck is still the champ, okay? Valve tried to warn you guys. We couldn't find a game the Steam Deck couldn't run. And that was the anthem. So the developers, they saw that statement and they're like, okay. So what you're saying is that we can build our handheld as powerful as we want it, right? Okay. And when they saw the games running on the Steam Deck, they took that idea and ran with it. But anyway, you know, the Asus ROG is the Asus ROG, but the Steam Deck is the Steam Deck. Just saying. But anyway, got this little this article here got a video from ETA Prime, So I guess he's trying to use the ROG Ally X to go up against the Steam Deck, but he should know the Steam Deck is just the Steam Deck. anyway, let me keep going here. Says here, what do we got? Says here, with the official Steamos 3.8 non-Steam Deck handheld show their true potential. This time, it's the ROG Ally X, which managed to crush the Steam Deck easily. Right. Anyway, it says ETA Prime demonstrates significant uplift in performance on the ROG Ally X with the latest Steamos 3.8 unlocked TDP range of up to 40 watt using a plugin. Remember the Fox did a video. The Fox did a video about a day or two ago about the same thing, but they both know the Steam Deck is still the champ. They just know it. But anyway, they say it says here, Valve SteamOS could do wonders if it gets to traditional Windows OS based handheld. With the official announcement of SteamOS 3.8 on non-Steam Deck handhelds, may have been waiting for new performance results of popular handhelds like Lenovo Legion Go S and ROG Ally X. Very recently, we shared how a YouTuber was able to outperform the Steam Deck with his ROG Ally using a SteamOS 3.8, but ETA Prime showcased a bigger uplift. It says here, we aren't seeing a 4-5% performance uplift over the Steam Deck, but up to a whopping 20% when compared to ROG Ally X. The Steam Deck at the same TDP by default. The SteamOS 3.8 offers no control over the TDP range on the ROG Ally X. While we are yet to get this fixed, ETA Prime used a plugin called Simply Decky TDP that unlocks the TDP range 40 watt 40W. However, out of the box, ROG Ally X is able to run at 18 watts. And then it says since the Steam Deck can only run in up to a max of 15 watt mode, ETA Prime also limit the ROG Ally X to 15. Many game comparisons show the ROG Ally X can deliver at least around a 10% boost over the Steam Deck. However, in games like Cyberpunk, the ROG Ally X was able to deliver 53 FPS versus 44 on the Steam Deck, amounting to a staggering 20% difference. Then it says in Black Myth Wukong, the ROG Ally X beat the latter by 12% margin and about 10% margin in the Shadow of Tomb Raider. There are surely scenarios where the ROG Ally can't match the Steam Deck, like in Monster Hunter Wild, which isn't Steam Deck verified yet. More optimization have to be delivered in order to maximize the potential of non-Steam Deck handheld using SteamOS. But the start is terrific. As far as performance on higher TDP goes, ETA Prime didn't show how much of a boost one can get on the ROG Ally using the 40 watt mode, but it will definitely be much higher than what we saw at 15 watts. 16 FPS gaming is surely possible on the ROG Ally X with upscaling and frame generation techniques while enjoying a higher watt battery life. Now we would like to see SteamOS 3.8 on faster handhelds that deploy the Strix Point and Lunar Lake APU. Well, what do we got on the comments? 38. Let's see, what do we got? Howell said this: They should have compared the ROG Ally Windows versus Steam to show the true importance over Steam over OS. If that's what they want to do. Steam Deck is nice, but it's already showing its age. I'll be the next one if ASUS make the next machine with Steam OS. Extreme 2, 32 gigs or 64 gigs of fast RAM. Remember the video I did about the Steam Deck saying it needs 64 gigs of RAM? Alright. Says here 32 or 64 fast RAM, 2 or 4 terabytes fast SSD, 800p screen, better for battery slash cost slash performance, better ergonomics, parallel sticks, not diagonal. And it says it just shows how horrible Windows. It just shows how horrible Windows is for gaming. 20% more performance at the same 15-watt TDP is absolutely crazy. And then who's this? Few said this. Steam Fork has supported this hardware for 6 months. Anyone can install it to have SteamOS 3.6 compatible on the ROG Ally X. Support for 3.8.7 is in preview as well. And then Nan said this. It's over for lunar flop. And then who is this? He said, what? You mean the machine with better hardware did better than a machine with not better hardware? And then he says, Ally is still less comfortable, less buttons, no trackpads, and anyway, he said, and then I think the important part here is that running Valve Linux benefits handheld performance over Windows. And then who is this? Someone else here said, I don't see any comparison with Windows in the article. It's just comparing SteamOS to compare two chips, with one being smaller and using older generation architecture. And then Cajun said this, seriously, a newer piece of hardware paired with an OS fine tuned for gaming and not full of Windows bloat, one would almost expect it to perform better than the OG Steam Deck in some regards. Another nonsense clickbait article. And then Binary says 20% jump isn't worth the cost for me. I am not upgrading my deck until I see 50% gains. Maybe the next generation refresh. and then someone here, who was this? Coda said this. The next version of deck might be coming 2027. Next gen APUs aren't going with next gen RDNA. So best bet is after console next gen release. And then Whiteout said this. The Ally is heavily power starved at 15 watts. At 25 watts, the perf gap will easily be 50%. And then Javi said this. How many AMD gens would Steam Deck needs to make it 100% performance uplift? Low resolution where they can't rely on upscaling and makeup. It shows how little hardware had improved in 5 years. Reason why Nintendo also took long to make the jump. At least on Switch 2, the performance uplift will be over 100%. Right. Anyway, and then who is this? Krolik said this. As soon as APU for FSR4 support, you will have nice performance boosts without visual drawbacks of FSR3. Anyway, and then who is this? Javi said this. FSR4 at 800p. Cool story. And then Nez says, why would you choose a janky operating system that runs less stuff? And then Coda said this. Less bloat, more power, efficient cause of less crap in the background eating up your resource, but less stuff. You mean the kernel level anti-cheat for while slop, cause I'm willing to bet you aren't someone that uses software specific to Windows to do, such as Visual Studio's Solid Edge, that aren't 100% compatible as of yet. And then Linux said this. If you buy less stuff means crapware, then it's true. Windows users don't realize how much great software Windows lack. And then who's this? Ned said this. I mean, my music studio 3D print software and whatever else I want to run on the computer, I paid a lot of money for. Get a job. He said, and Cody says, you do realize none of what you said would run on gaming handhelds, right? Or at least if you want to finish doing whatever you were doing in a timely manner. Also, 800. Think was the. Then he said in parentheses, think was the goal for roast for the ROG Ally X. A lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And then it says, think you should be getting the job, not the rest. Yeah, they just going at it in the comment section. But anyway, I just gave you a little gist. But anyway, yeah, there's a video here from ETA Prime though, and I will leave the link. And this this article shows the Steam Deck versus the ROG Ally X. Of course, but here's my whole thoughts on the whole thing though. Of course, when you have, this is why RAM is so important in video games. You know, you can have a higher CPU, you can have a high CPU and a high GPU or APU or NPU, but if you ain't got enough RAM to support that, then your handheld means nothing. So with the ROG Ally X, it has 24 gigs of RAM over the Steam Deck OLED and LCD 16, so that's 8 gigs of extra RAM that it has. But then again, the Steam Deck can do 32 if you do a little modding and stuff like that. Plus 61 terabytes in storage of SSD, or 122 that is. But seriously though, the ROG Ally X has 8 more gigs of RAM than the Steam Deck. But Valve with the Steam Deck was the one that led the charge when it came to handhelds. Yesterday I did a video on Pocket Pair, and they were talking about bringing Pal World to the Switch. The Switch one can't handle Pal World, so the Steam Deck ran circles around the Switch right out the gate. The Steam Deck, now when Valve came out with it, they said we couldn't find a game the Steam Deck couldn't run. And once they did that, the competitors were like, okay, we get it. Now we know what to do. They just took it and ran with it. And they've been doing all these handhelds from the MSI Club, Asus ROG, Lenovo Legion Go, OXO, ANEO, 1X, GPD, Logitech, Odin. These are some powerful handhelds. So it was all because of the Steam Deck. Of course, when Valve made the Steam Deck, they know that the competitors were going to come with some high-end handhelds. They knew. But on the optimization side, the Steam Deck is a force to be reckoned with. Look, Assassin's Creed Shadows came out. Ubisoft said the Steam Deck couldn't handle it. That's what they said, right? But the Steam Deck is very good at optimizing games, and Assassin's Creed is running on it. Don't get me wrong. It can run on the ROG Ally X, the Lenovo Legion Go, MSI Club, and all those other handhelds, ANEO, 1X, GPD, OXO. It can run on all those. But that Steam Deck ain't no pushover, man. You best believe it. It ain't no pushover, man. So yeah. And Valve is working on bringing Steamos to other handhelds. They did it for the Legion Go S. But there are gamers out there, man. Like some people said in the article, that's not good enough. You know, so yeah. But anyway, man, Steam Deck is a good handheld, but Asus ROG is pretty good. You know, even Microsoft now is coming out with a handheld. Microsoft, just saying. So yeah, but good little experiment for them though. You know, to see how SteamOS would run on the ROG Ally. The Fox, he started it, and then ETA Prime followed suit. So Steam Deck is still the Steam Deck, man. Yeah, we couldn't find a game the Steam Deck couldn't run, man. Anyway, man. So yeah, I mean, especially with with DLSS, ray tracing, path tracing, FSR. Steam Deck been doing that, you know. So some of the features that the Switch 2 is trying to come with, the Steam Deck already had it. So did the Asus ROG Ally. So did they already had it. So yeah. Anyway, but I'm gonna leave a video in the link in the description box, man, and take it from there. And you guys can take it from there. I don't let's see, how long is this video? According to how long is this video here? From ETA Prime. Where is it? Let's see here. I think I got the video here.
With the stock market at record highs, are you confident in your portfolio?
No. Yeah. Stock market, whatever. It's about, I would say 12 minutes tops. So I will leave the link in the description box, and then you take it from there. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy it. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, those Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Board, dark side. Go. Peace. Alright. Let's go.